Welcome to VeralBuzz News. Today we analyze the recent elections in Venezuela where both leader Nicolás Maduro and the opposition claim victory amid serious accusations of fraud and irregularities. Both the president of Venezuela, Nicolás Maduro, and his political opponent declared victory on Monday in the country's elections. A vote marked by accusations of fraud and irregularities in the counting. With 80% of the votes counted, Maduro obtained more than 51% of the votes, surpassing the candidate of the Democratic Unity Platform, Edmundo González Urrutia, with more than 44% of the votes, according to a statement from the National Electoral Council. The United States and several world leaders expressed skepticism about the official results that would grant the presidential election victory to the strong leader. Allegations of electoral irregularities began to surface Sunday night as votes were being counted, including the fact that opposition witnesses were denied access to the National Electoral Council headquarters while the authority was counting the votes, and the National Electoral Council allegedly stopped sending data from local voting centers to its central location to prevent more votes from being processed. The National Electoral Council has been criticized by some international bodies for its lack of impartiality. The U.S. State Department expressed concern last year about what it said were ongoing efforts to remake the composition of the body, while the European Parliament adopted a resolution in February accusing Maduro's regime of making changes to the National Electoral Council that it said were designed to hinder the electoral process and nullify any prospect of a return to democracy. Opposition leader Maria Corina Machado said at a press conference that her own records showed that her candidate, Edmundo González Urrutia, had received 70% of the votes compared to Maduro's 30%. "We won, and everyone knows it," Machado claimed, adding that the opposition will defend the truth. "The entire international community knows what happened in Venezuela and how people voted for change," she stated. González, who was also at the press conference, denounced that the rules were violated during the election. If Maduro takes office, it will be his third consecutive six-year term and the continuation of Chavismo, the leftist populist ideology named after Maduro's predecessor, Hugo Chávez. Chávez ruled Venezuela for 14 years until his death in 2013. His policies were dominated by the nationalization and redistribution of the country's enormous oil wealth to marginalized and poorer communities, as well as a constant drive to protect Venezuelan sovereignty against imperialist powers. But in recent years, the oil-rich nation has suffered the worst economic crisis in recent peacetime history. Maduro has attributed the crisis to foreign sanctions against his regime and claimed that Venezuela is a victim of an economic war. Attempts to skew the elections in favor of Maduro began long before the polling stations opened on Sunday. According to a Peace Laboratory report released on Monday, at least 71 people were arbitrarily detained during the electoral campaign, most of them after having provided some service to the opposition. The government has also created significant impediments for millions of Venezuelans abroad to vote, including passport and residency requirements that are virtually unattainable. Only 69,211 Venezuelans living abroad are eligible to vote in this year's elections, according to data published by the CNE. Only a very limited group of electoral observers could oversee the voting. Venezuela withdrew its invitation to EU observers to come to the country. A small Carter Center mission conducted observations and should publish its findings soon. However, the center said in advance that it could not conduct a comprehensive observation of election day processes due to the relatively small size of the mission. Voters turned out in droves, and many said they would leave the country if Maduro won, citing violent repression and economic collapse under his rule. Maduro has already overseen unprecedented levels of poverty and emigration during his two terms. About 8 million Venezuelans have fled the country amid shortages of vital goods and rising inflation. After the CNE announced Maduro's victory, U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken expressed serious concerns that the announced result does not reflect the will or the votes of the Venezuelan people. He added that it is essential that the votes be counted fairly and transparently and called for the CNE to publish its vote tabulations. EU diplomat Josep Borrell Fontel said the will of the Venezuelan people must be respected. Ensuring full transparency of the electoral process, including detailed vote counting and access to voting records at polling stations, is vital, he said in a statement published on X. The results also sparked mixed reactions across the region. The presidents of Peru, Chile, Guatemala, Costa Rica, Argentina and Uruguay denounced or questioned the results, with several saying they would not recognize Maduro's victory. Before the elections, many Latin American leaders had urged Maduro to commit to stepping down if he lost. But some of Venezuela's partners congratulated Maduro on his victory, including the Bolivian, Honduran and Cuban presidents. Russian President Vladimir Putin also congratulated Maduro on his re-election. Russian-Venezuelan relations have the character of a strategic partnership. I am confident that your activity at the helm of the state will continue to contribute to its progressive development in all directions, Putin said, according to a Kremlin statement published on its Telegram channel. China's Ministry of Foreign Affairs also congratulated Maduro on Monday. China attaches great importance to developing relations between China and Venezuela, and is willing to work with Venezuela to continuously enrich the connotation of the all-weather strategic partnership between China and Venezuela, and better benefit the peoples of the two countries, spokesman Lin Jian said at the ministry's daily press conference. Thank you for watching this video. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel, like the video, and ring the bell for more Viral Buzz news. See you in the next video.